Hello students, welcome to today's English video lesson. Now we are going to learn an important study skill called note taking. First, let's see what note taking is all about. Note taking is a way of writing down important information from what you have heard in order that you can recall it later. Now take a quick look at the pictures displayed on your TV screen. What do you see? You can see a journalist, a police officer, a group of officers and a judge. What are they doing? They are all taking notes. Yes, note taking is an important skill which is necessary for all. It requires both the listening and writing skills. After listening to a lecture, we have to put down the key ideas in the written form. So, note taking in English is a good combination of both listening and writing skills. But the first step to note taking is to master the skill of active listening. Active listening is very important to become an efficient and successful note taker. Wherever we go, we can hear people talking, the sound of birds and other noises. But we actively listen only to those things that are necessary for us. You listen actively when you listen to understand. Give full attention to the speaker and try to understand the complete message. If necessary, ask questions. Focus on what's being said and avoid distractions. You can also take non-verbal cues like pointing, gestures, or a vocal emphasis on certain words. Such cues help you in identifying the important points. Train your listening skill to receive, process, and retain the key points from the speaker. With that said, you may now just need to brush up on your listening skills. So, let's do a listening exercise. It is a typical public announcement made in an airport. Be attentive and listen to it carefully. As you listen, try to get the meaning of it. You don't have to know the meaning of each and every word the speaker says. Understanding the key words alone will do. You can also read it now as it comes up on your TV screen.
Good afternoon, passengers. This is the pre-boarding announcement for Flight 89B to Rome. We are now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding at this time. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time. Thank you.
Now take a look at the same announcement again on your screen. What do you see? You can find many words missing, right? I have intentionally rubbed them out in order to differentiate the important words from unimportant ones. Now look at the words that remain. Good afternoon, passengers. This is the, for, to. We are now inviting those and any, to, at, please have your, and ready, will, in, approximately, time, thank you. Did you listen to these words? Is it possible to guess what the announcement is about only from these words? Certainly not. It's not possible because these words are not important to know the meaning of this sentence. Hence, these words are also known as structural words. They don't give any information about the content of a sentence. Now take a look at the different version of the same announcement. What do you see? Here I have rubbed out all the unimportant structural words which you have just seen now. Take a close look at the remaining words. Pre-boarding announcement, Flight 89B Rome, passengers with small children, passengers requiring special assistance, begin boarding this time, boarding pass identification, regular boarding begin 10 minutes. Can you now guess the message of the announcement only from these words? Yes, you can. It is possible to guess the meaning of the actual announcement using these words because these words give the key information about the content of the announcement. So these words are also called content words or informational words. Now you are going to do a similar exercise by listening to another announcement made in an airport. As you listen, try to identify the key words and the unimportant words. Okay, take a listen now.
This is the final boarding call for passengers Aaron and Fred Collins, booked on flight 372A to Kansas City. Please proceed to gate 3 immediately. The final checks are being completed and the captain will order for the doors of the aircraft to close in approximately 5 minutes' time. I repeat, this is the final boarding call for Aaron and Fred Collins. Thank you.
Did you listen to it carefully? Were you able to differentiate the key words from the unimportant ones? Now check your answer. Look at the unimportant words that come up on your screen and please self-evaluate whether you have identified them correctly or not. These are the unimportant words. This is the for passengers, booked, on, to, please, to, immediately. The, or, being, and the captain will order for approximately time. I repeat, this is the for, thank you. I hope you were able to identify the unimportant words correctly. Now let's go through the important words which are also known as the key words or content words. Look at the words that come up on your screen. Final boarding call, Aaron and Fred Collins, flight 372A, Kansas City. Proceed, gate 3, final checks completed, doors of the aircraft to close in 5 minutes. What do these words convey? Are these words enough to guess the meaning of the announcement? Yes, they surely are. These key informational words are more than enough to convey the meaning. I hope you have all done this exercise and have identified the key words correctly. Now that you are able to differentiate the important words from unimportant ones, you should always remember that when you take notes, you should write down only the important words. You may use the unimportant structural words only if it is absolutely necessary for the meaning. Hope you have now understood how to listen actively enough to get the message. We shall now learn the actual process of note-taking. But why should you take notes? Is it important to take notes? Yes, it is. Taking notes in the classroom is very important if you want to achieve academic success. It helps you focus on the lecture and participate actively in the classroom. It also helps you to better understand the main concepts. You will also be able to better remember what you hear and see. Besides, you will be able to recall and retain key information. Research suggests that taking notes by hand helps students to learn and to remember the key concepts better. In short, note-taking improves student learning by helping in long-term memory. Now take a quick look at the picture displayed on your TV screen. What do you see? You can see students taking notes in a classroom. All over the world, students are taking notes every day. You can also take notes like them. You can take notes when listening to a lecture or when you are watching a video or when you are doing research for a project or when you go on field trips. For that, you may need to know some of the preparatory measures and also the tips or strategies involved in note-taking. As students, there are some preparatory measures you will have to make before taking notes. The first step is arriving early and finding a spot close to the speaker. Sitting close to the source always aids you in concentrating better and avoiding distractions. Also, switch off your mobile phone or any other messaging service that may cause distraction. Always make it a point to sit up straight. Never slouch. This will help you listen attentively to the speaker. Always bring the stationery required for taking notes. It includes a large loose leaf notebook and pens. Also bring plenty of loose papers to spare. Bring highlighters if necessary. Use only pens with dark ink to write. After taking these preparatory measures, you must know what to write and how to take notes. Here are some of the tips and strategies that may help you. The first thing to do when you take notes is jotting down the date, place, and title of the lecture or presentation. You may also note down the name of the speaker. Always write on one side of the page only. As you write, be sure to number the pages. You can never write down everything that the speaker says, so always be selective when you write. As you have learned at the beginning of this lesson, always try to identify the key words and the important points of any lecture that you may happen to listen to. Look for non-verbal cues like pointing, gestures, or a vocal emphasis on certain words. Such non-verbal cues will help you identify the key points. Write down only the key ideas. Let your notes be brief and concise. This saves your time and energy. Concise notes help you avoid confusion that often results from trying to make sense of overwhelming wordy notes. Also, make it a point to write legibly. It is important to write neatly because your notes must be clear enough to understand when you come back to them. There's no point in taking notes if you can't read what you yourself have written. You can also make use of abbreviations, acronyms, and symbols in your notes. Now, take a look at some of the common abbreviations that come up on your screen. Here, the letters EG stand for example, ETC for etc., IE for that is, C19 for the 19th century, NO for number, GOV for government, INTL for international, UN for the United Nations, GB for the Great Britain, and finally the EU for the European Union. Now let's look at a list of symbols. The symbol for equal to can also be used to indicate same as, whereas the symbol for not equal to can be used to indicate not the same as. The ampersand symbol can also be used to mean and. You can also use the symbols for, therefore, at, less than, more than, and leads to in order to save time. The symbols that you have just seen on your TV screen are only samples. You can also make use of the hundreds of symbols that you might have come across in your life. In addition to abbreviations and symbols, you can also use contractions like don't, doesn't, isn't, he's, its, and theirs. As you write, highlight the important points with an asterisk. You can also use a highlighter to make the points look more important. You may also underline, indent, or circle keywords and phrases for more emphasis. This may help you in reviewing and organizing your notes. After each and every entry you make, be sure to leave some space. This will help you in adding more points to your notes in the future. Soon after the lecture or presentation, review the notes you have taken. Rewrite incomplete parts and fill in any gaps by adding content. Research shows that we tend to forget 60% of what we have listened to just after 9 hours. So make it a point to revise your notes within 9 hours. The sooner you revise, the better you remember. When you revise or add to or rewrite your notes, you tend to retain more information. Now that you have understood the strategies of note-taking, let's now learn the different methods of note-taking. There are 5 widely used methods of note-taking. They are the Cornell method, the charting method, the mapping method, the sentence method, and the outline method. Now let's take a look at each of these methods in detail. First, let's look at the Cornell method. This method is also called a 3-column method because the page is divided into 3 sections. When using this method, you will have to divide the page with a 2-inch margin on the left, leaving a 6-inch area on the right. The space on the left should be marked for writing cues, and the space on the right is the actual area for note taking. Just as you can see in the picture displayed on your screen, leave some space at the bottom of this page for summarizing the content in 1 or 2 sentences. This method of note taking is helpful in organizing and reviewing the notes in a systematic way. The next method you are going to learn is the charting method. To use this method, you must set up your paper in advance by drawing tabular columns, just as you can see in the picture that is displayed on your TV screen. As you listen to the lecture, make sure to label the table with appropriate headings. This method can only be used when the lecture is about facts and information, or similarities and dissimilarities, or pros and cons. The next method is the mapping method. This method is a graphic representation of the content of the lecture. You should start this method by writing the main topic at the top or at the center of the map. Then keep dividing the subtopics into branches as you go on writing. This method is visually appealing and maximizes active participation and emphasizes critical thinking. The next method we are going to learn now is the sentence method. In this method, every new thought, fact, or topic is written on a separate line. Each line should be numbered as soon as it is written. This method of note-taking is useful when it is difficult to group the ideas or key points. Soon after the lecture is over, you can rewrite and revise it by clustering the key points which are related. The final method of note-taking that you are going to learn today is the outlining method. This method is also called the indented method. The outlining method is one of the easiest and most popular methods of note-taking. It lets you organize your notes in a structured form. With the help of this method, you can structure your notes in the form of an outline by using numbers or bullet points. The numbers represent the main topics and also their subtopics. Below the subtopics, the key points explaining those subtopics should be written. Now take a look at the picture which is displayed on your screen. You can see the format of the outlining method. All the facts begin from the left and indent towards the right. This method gives a clear and proper structure to your notes and reduces the time needed for reviewing and editing. Due to the simplicity of this method, we are going to use it when we do the exercise that follow. Now it's time to practice what you have learned so far. Watch the video that comes up on your screen and take notes using the outline method.
English is a global language. It is spoken as a first or official language in many countries in the world and on every continent. About 350 million people speak English as a first language. For example, in Great Britain, the USA, Australia, and Canada, but also in places like Jamaica, Singapore, and Nigeria. In addition to this, more than 430 million people speak English as an official language in Asian countries like India and the Philippines, and in many African countries like Cameroon and Gambia. Today, English is also used as the official language in lots of international organizations. For example, the United Nations and European Union. It is the language of business, technology and medicine, and it is necessary for a lot of different jobs. For example, if you want to be a tourist guide or a journalist, or if you want to work with computers, you really need to know English. So why did a language that originated in a very small island like Britain become so important? One reason is that Britain was a very strong colonial power during the 18th and 19th centuries. In fact, by the beginning of the 20th century, the British Empire controlled almost a quarter of the land in the world. At the same time, it dominated commerce in countries that were not part of the British Empire, so the use of English expanded over an even bigger area. When the British Empire finished, many countries which became independent maintained English as their first or official language. Then, when the United States became the dominant world power in the 20th century, the English language became even more important. American English is, of course, based on British English, but some words and expressions are different. All modern languages continually change and develop. Many words that we use when we speak English today come from other languages like Italian, German, and French. But English is also giving words to other languages. For example, the Italian language has adopted English words like computer, weekend, jeans, t-shirt, and club.
Did you enjoy the video? Hope you all have done your best in taking notes. Now check your answer. It is displayed on your screen right now. Your notes should look somewhat like this, beginning with the main topic, subtopic, and the supporting points. Give yourself a hand if you have really done well. Let's do another exercise now. In this exercise, you will be listening to an audio clip from the website uefap.com. Be attentive and listen to it very carefully. As you listen, take notes using the outline method.
Education and success. Educationalists and politicians have long been preoccupied with the need to determine why particular groups of people, including the children of unskilled manual workers, girls, black children in the USA, are disproportionately among the failures of the education system. Why, that is, these groups tend to underachieve. 3 types of explanation have been given. First are the explanations which emphasize intelligence as a possible genetic basis for these patterns of attainment. Secondly are those explanations which center on the home and family environment of the pupils. And thirdly are those explanations which focus on the process and organization of teaching and learning within schools and the wider educational system. There's no doubt that some people perform certain tasks better than others. Some people consistently lose at games, have difficulty having conversations, and write terrible English essays. While others always come first in sports, they make fluent and forceful arguments, and are praised by teachers for their original and stylish essays. We often summarize these differences by saying that some people are more intelligent than others. But what does intelligence actually mean? It's clearly some kind of capacity for abstract thinking, some kind of ability to learn quickly and accurately. But there's no way to measure innate or inborn differences in intelligence, separate from what people may have learned through their upbringing and education. Many people use tests of intelligence or IQ tests, but recent research has shown that the difference shown by these tests cannot be used as an explanation for patterns of educational achievement. Educational research over the last 50 years has produced a large amount of data concerning the relationship between social factors, such as family and school, and pupils' educational progress. Factors in the home include income and material circumstances, as well as attitudes and values. Despite the elimination of fees in state schools, material inequality continues to play an important part in determining who is successful and who is less so in the educational system. This is especially true at the extremes, for the richest children and the poorest. In these cases, school success may depend as much on finance as on ability. In studies in Hertfordshire in the 1950s and 60s, though, it was found that parental attitudes towards the education of their children were more important variables than housing and income. Middle-class parents take more interest in their children's progress than the manual working-class parents, and they become relatively more interested as their children grow older. So far, our discussion has centred upon the factors that shape what children of different social class bring to school. Schools, however, do not merely react to children with varying qualities and capacities in a neutral way. They play an active part in creating children who are more or less educable, more or less knowledgeable, more or less manageable. How schools select children, how much money they spend on education, what they teach the students, and how they organize the teaching also contributes to the success, or not, of the students. In all, though, it needs to be seen that whatever we mean by intelligence, it cannot account for the range of successes and failures we see in education today. We need, therefore, to look further into the relationship between social factors, such as family and school, to find an answer.
Did you take notes while listening to the audio clip? Okay, now check your answer with the one that appears on your screen. Make corrections if necessary. I hope you all must have done it well. Okay, students, before winding up, let's do a quick recap of the key points of note-taking. Always arrive early and find a spot close to the speaker, because sitting close to the source always aids you in concentrating better. And always make it a point to sit up straight. Don't ever slouch. And always bring the necessary pens and other stationery required for taking notes. And always make it a point to note down only the key words. Okay, students, that's it for now. Hope you all enjoyed today's lesson. Make sure that you use your note-taking skill in your classroom after the school reopens. Until then, keep tuning in for more video lessons like this. Thank you.